Welcome to the Tool Review channel, and for today's video we are taking a look at the ChannelLock 3248 combination pliers. Now these are quite a bit different from the standard combination pliers I would say you can find here in the States, and that is mainly because these are a combination plier which I believe are sold down in Australia. So you can see that the handles are a little bit different than a normal standard pair of ChannelLock pliers. So to start off the video here, we'll take a look at those handles here. So you can see you got some leftover casting from the rubber molding that goes over the handles, but it is nice to see that they did put some rubber molding handles, and you have these little tabs at the top so the pliers don't fall out of your hands, which is nice. But there's the, you got some nice grip here on the pliers as well. And then if you take a look at the inside, it tells you ChannelLock made them, and then it tells you where they made them in Pennsylvania, and then obviously made in the USA, like most, if not almost all of ChannelLock's products are. And then coming to the front of the plier, or the main part of the plier, I should say, these I'm thinking are a little bit older of a pair of ChannelLocks, unless they're still stamping the tools that get sold abroad. But most of their tools nowadays are all laser etched, and these are actually stamped, which is pretty cool. So you can see you have the ChannelLock name right there, and you have made in the USA right there. And then you also have the crimper back here as well. It should be able to crimp terminals from at least 12 to 20 gauge wire. Then you can see your rivet there, which is, if you flip these pliers over, you got the model number right there, but that rivet is a little bit far away from the cutting edge. So, you know, that being said, it is going to be a little bit harder to cut through some thicker material. You're definitely going to struggle with it, rather than if that rivet was closer to the cutting edge, you would be able to get through some of that material a little bit easier. And then you have your little circular cutout right here with some teeth, and that is great for if you have to grab onto a screw or nut or whatever, and you need to hold it in place while you fasten something on there. The best thing I got is a 5/16 self tapper, but it'll do the job. So as you can see right there, those are what those teeth are really meant for, when you need to grab onto something and hold on tight to it, which is nice. So we'll take a look at the nose of the plier, and unlike most combination pliers, these actually feature a cross-hatch design here on the front of the plier, which is nice for when you're needing to twist wire or you're needing to pull something. That cross-hatching design will definitely bite into that material a little bit harder than if the teeth were all going parallel in the same direction. So with that being said, that's pretty much it for the detail on these pliers. So we'll go ahead and zoom out here. Now these are advertised as 213 millimeter. So for us US guys here, I'll break out the handy dandy tape measure right here, and if we could get it the right way, you're looking at just a little over 8.5, or maybe a little bit close to 8 and 8 3/4. In size of length. So they're definitely up there with a high leverage pair of pliers. They just don't have that rivet that is close to the cutting edge. So enough about me rambling about that. Let's get to some features on these pliers, which is the main feature we're going to test here, is the cutting feature. So we're going to first start off with our 18 gauge wire right here, and we can see that it has no problem chopping through that 18 gauge solid wire. So we'll go ahead and put him off to the side, and we'll bring in some 14 gauge stranded wire right here, and we'll go ahead and cut through that. So the jaws definitely are fairly sharp when it comes to cutting these lower grade wires, or these lower wire gauges right there. So that was 14 stranded. So now we'll bring in some 14 solid, and we'll do the same thing there. So these have no problem getting through that, which is super nice. So now we'll bring in our 12 gauge stranded wire right here, and we are able to chop through that without any issues. And you definitely do feel the cut in your hand when you're cutting through it, but it's nothing too bad. So we'll put him off to the side, and we'll bring him back in later. So that was 12 stranded. Now we're going to bring in some 12 solid wire right here, and go ahead and cut that guy off. And we don't have really any issue cutting that 12 solid wire as well. So now we're going to bring in some 10 stranded wire right here. And again, just like all the other wires, we were able to cut through it. You definitely do feel a little bit of that cutting and that snapping action when you cut through the wire, but you are able to cut through that wire without any issue. So now we will bring in our 10 solid wire right here. And again, you're definitely going to feel that snapping action, but you are able to cut through that 10 solid without issue, which is nice. So now we are going to bring in a little piece of insulation right here. Now this is just a larger size piece of insulation that you would see typically in a wire or some MC or some thermostat wire. Now this just came out of some MC that I was able to scrap from a job that I'm on right now with work. And this was inside, I believe it was a 4 or 5 wire MC. And this is just a little piece of insulation so that the wires don't rub up against each other. And things like that. So we're going to see if these are sharp enough to cut through this piece of insulation. And they are indeed able to do that. We did kind of struggle with one of the strands, so we'll go ahead and try that one more time, but we are able to cut through that piece of insulation. But you're rarely going to ever cut through this stuff. This is, at least I am, mainly what I'm looking for is if we can cut through this insulation that's in the 5 wire on this thermostat wire. And if we're able to cut through that big piece of insulation, as you can see right there, we are able to cut through that small piece of insulation. Or that little fine pieces of insulation that run through here without any issue. So we'll go ahead and put that off to the side, and we will bring in our Romex wire right here. So this is our 14-2 with ground, so we're cutting through 3 14-gauge wires. So we'll go ahead and chomp through that if we can, and it's a one-handed operation for sure. You are able to do that without an issue. So we'll bring in our 12-gauge, or our 12-2 with ground Romex, and hopefully we have the same results. Definitely a little bit of a challenge to do with one hand, but you can definitely do it. I don't recommend it because it is a little bit challenging, but you can do that as well. So now we're going to bring in some of our 8-gauge stranded wire right here, and we're going to see if we can cut through this without any problems, and you are indeed able to chomp through that without any issue. And I'm going to see if I can't strip this or what. As well, a little bit challenging to do since the insulation on here is a little bit slippery. But I am able to, as you can kind of see the copper right there. I was able to strip it, just having a little bit of a challenge pulling it completely off all the way. Just go ahead and cut it one more time. So you can definitely strip wire with these. I definitely struggled doing it. That's just my hands are a little bit sweaty, and this insulation on here is super slippery. But you can definitely strip wire, and you can definitely cut that 8-gauge stranded wire without an issue. So now we'll bring in some 6-gauge stranded wire right here. And we'll go ahead and see if we can't cut through that as well. And it's going to be a little bit challenging, but these guys will definitely do it without an issue. So we'll go ahead and set him off to the side, and we'll clear all this stuff out of the background here. So overall, these are definitely a nice pair of combination pliers from ChannelLock. Now, like I said earlier, they are, I believe, only available down in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's the only websites that come up when you look up the 3248 model number, is all the websites selling them that are based out of Australia. I do have to say, I do like the handles on here. They're definitely different than just their standard normal dipped handles, which is nice. It almost kind of reminds me of the handles that come on their forged wire strippers. It's just that nice soft rubber, and I really do enjoy that, and would be nice to see them offer that on some of their other pliers that they do have. I know that they have the I believe it's the Code Blue handles as well, which is like a multi-component grip, but I just kind of like this style of grip a little bit better. Now you can see the fit and finish on them isn't the greatest. You can see the handles, one's a little bit longer than the other. And then you got some leftover casting from the handle making process. And the fit and finish is a little bit rough, but that's pretty typical with ChannelLock. I do believe that they are still at least finished by hand, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they use any robots in the factory to do the finish grinding on the tool, so that would kind of explain that. But the handles, not really sure what's up with that. But then again, you know, it is a mass-produced tool, so things like that kind of pass people's inspection here and there. But overall, these are definitely a nice pair of pliers. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to provide any links for them for purchase for any of you guys in the States looking for them. I did pick these up off of eBay. There actually was a seller in the States that I believe had 5 of them. Not quite sure how he got his hands on them, but he was able to do it, and the price was very reasonable, so I decided to go ahead and pick these guys up. So if that's where you want to get them from, go ahead, be my guest. No problem with that. But with that being said, that's all I have for this video. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. But that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video we uploaded.